Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Homewrecker podcast. I am the Golden Greek, Alex Harry. I'm joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous wife, Monique. Monique, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing fantastic, as
Lovely.
always. Yeah. So what is going on? What's new in your world? What's new with you?
We got our baby chicks.
We did.
So that's exciting. They're really cute. And then the next day we get them. And the next day, one of our Australorp hens went broody and started laying on eggs.
For the first time.
Yep, for the first time. So we might have even more chicks.
How many eggs is she currently laying on?
4.
4.
Mhm.
So we could potentially have 4 additional baby chicks that we had not anticipated or
That's
planned
okay.
for.
And it's funny because she'll leave sometimes once a day to go eat and dust bathe. And she comes back and she always goes in the wrong box. So I have to be on top of that, making sure she's in the right one.
And the reason for that is because we have like the fake eggs in there, right?
Well, not
Because
just that, but she's gone on into nesting boxes that have eggs that were laid in there
that
that I
haven't been
didn't
collected
collect
yet.
yet.
Gotcha.
And I watch her. She'll get in. She'll like look around like she's looking for her eggs, but she went up. And it's a 6-box kind of structure, and she's on the second layer to the far.
She's on the second floor.
Sorry,
of
the second floor of the
Yeah.
on the far right. So she looks for her, and she has a hard time remembering or
Trying to
seeing
remember
where
her.
she
Yeah.
was.
Right. That's
So I
funny.
help her out a little.
There we go. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty excited for today's show because we're going to be doing something new. We're going to be debuting a new recurring segment that we're going to be doing every week, or every show, I should say, from now on. And that is the Let's Ask Monique.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be asking Monique a question because she is a certified therapist, hypnotherapist,
And I'm a stress management consultant,
and that as well. Thank you so much for finishing that for me.
certified.
Boom. And so I thought it'd be nice to ask her expertise and her advice on some burning questions that have been asked of other prominent women, smart women in the past. You've heard of Dear Abby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ann Landers, I think, was another one.
Yep, that's right. Ann Landers and Abby.
Well, have you ever heard of Dear Marilyn?
No, I'm not familiar with this. So this was Alex's idea. And he asked me if I heard of that. And I said no, because I didn't really read that stuff growing up.
Did you ever get Parade magazine? It used to come in like the Sunday paper.
No.
Okay. So it's basically, it was like an insert, like a small little magazine. I think it was maybe 16, 20 pages long. And it came out every week in the Sunday paper, at least when I was growing up. And so she had a column in there called Ask Marilyn. And this is Marilyn Vossant, who is the woman who is in the Guinness Book of World Records with the highest recorded IQ. This lady got a 228 when she was 10 years old, which is insane.
Alex told me that before we started recording. And I was like, I didn't even know the number went up that high.
I didn't either. So it's crazy. But so I thought, be interesting to see how does your advice stack up against the woman with the highest recorded IQ. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a collection of her questions and of the questions asked to her and her answers. You have not heard the question.
No.
Only I know the question in advance. And then we're going to listen to your answer and what you say and any advice you may give. And then after you've completed your advice, we're going to compare your advice to the woman with the highest recorded IQ.
And I thought this can either go really, really well or really, really bad.
It's
I'm either going to
advice.
sound fantastic or like a moron.
But it's advice.
Okay.
It's just advice. So we're going to see how is yours similar, how different it might be. We'll just see.
How long ago were these questions, too? Because things have changed if it was like 30 years ago, 50 years ago.
If there's a question that maybe is something that doesn't pertain to today, I will update it a little bit
Well, read it as it is.
if applicable.
Yeah, read it
I
as
will
it
update
is.
it. You can give updated advice. How's
Like,
that?
are people going to say the word like whoopee? Like when I make whoopee with my husband or something like that.
I picked the question 5 minutes before we hit the record button. So I have not looked at a lot of these. I just compiled a bunch of them, but I have not looked at them. The first time I looked at them was when I first opened it up right before we started recording because I had to get the first one. And it was literally the first one I saw. And I went, yep, that's the one.
You know what's
perfect?
You know what's funny about that too is this morning I was watching Matlock, like the 1980s Matlock,
Right.
and the episode that I watched was about an advice columnist who writes for like a magazine or newspaper, and it's advice for the lovelorn, and she gets murdered.
The synchronicity.
I know.
Amazing. All right. Well, are you ready to begin?
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's ask Monique, how do you tell the difference between good and evil?
Look in someone's eyes. Is it by actions? I mean, can we be a little more specific?
That's the question.
Okay,
How can you tell the
telling.
difference between good and evil?
Well, I'm weird because I don't think there's like real evil when you think about it. I think it's more of a spectrum, positive and negative. And then there's kind of like that 0 point in the middle, which is more neutral. And everyone goes on both sides. So good and evil, I think, is just a perspective. And what I think is good, somebody else could think is evil. And I've said this before, and I'm pretty sure I've said it on the podcast, but in some point in our lives, we all become a villain to somebody else. So are we evil to another person? Maybe in their eyes, but not necessarily. So who's to say what's good and what's bad? I guess it goes by what you feel is good and what's evil. Because isn't it all just objective?
All right. So that's your advice, or that's how
a
you answer
deep question.
That's how you answer that question. Okay. Would you like to hear what Marilyn Voss-Sant gave us her response?
Let's hear it.
4 words. You give it power.
Ah, there we go.
There you have it.
That was good.
So there you have it. All right. Well, speaking of good and evil, here's what we're going to talk about on today's show. We're going to do cursed objects again.
There's so many.
There's so many. So we decided we're going to do another episode about cursed objects. So we're going to begin right now with
Myrtle's Plantation Mirror.
another mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Myrtle's Plantation is located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. According to hauntedwalk.com, the house has a majestic wrap around the veranda, blue trim, and 20 rooms. It sits on high ground, appearing like a fortress as you approach. It appears to be something out of a storybook. However, its history is not for the faint of heart. The article goes on to say, our story begins with a newly married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Clark Woodruff. Mr. Woodruff was a prestigious judge and owned numerous slaves, as was the norm at the time. One of his house slaves went by the name of Chloe, who for many years fell victim to Woodruff's cruelty. Chloe tried to protect herself from the abuse by listening in to the Woodruff's conversations and modifying her behavior. One day, after being caught eavesdropping, Woodruff had Chloe's ears cut off, forcing her to carry the shame and disfigurement for the rest of her life. Her mutilation was hidden at the request of the Woodruffs by the use of a green turban. No one would see this terrifying mark, but the painful experience would stay with Chloe and inspire her to make plans for revenge. On the 9th birthday of the Woodruff's daughter, Chloe placed poisonous oleander leaves into the cake. Chloe's plan was to poison Mrs. Woodruff and their children. Some sources claim that it was never her intention to kill the 3 family members. They suggest that Chloe wanted them to get sick so she could nurse them back to health. In the South, local healers were among the most respected of the community. If Chloe could heal the family, she would be safe from the harsh reality of working in the fields. Tragically, the dosage was lethal, and it ended up killing Mrs. Woodruff and her 2 children. Another word spread of her actions on the plantation. the other slaves were the ones to take revenge. Chloe was hanged by the neck for everyone to witness until the life was drained from her body. She was then weighed down by rocks and thrown into the Mississippi River. The plantation was the site of other gruesome activity after Chloe's death. The new owner, a wealthy family man, and his 5 children would pass away from tuberculosis on the property. The home was later passed to one of his surviving daughters and her husband, the Winters. Mr. Winter was a proud member of his community and did his part by teaching Sunday school in his home. One day, as Mr. Winter was teaching, an unknown man rode up on a horse yelling to see him. As he came out to address this man, he was shot at point-blank range on his front porch.
Jeez.
I know. He retreated into the home and staggered up to the stairs to eventually die in the arms of his wife. The sound of his strong and forceful stomps still linger in the home today as visitors report hearing heavy footsteps from empty staircases. The plantation went on to be used as a film set for movies like The Long Hot Summer. These visitors were not safe from having their own paranormal encounters. While filming, cast and crew members reported witnessing furniture moving around the home all on its own.
What?
They could find nothing to explain this activity. The paranormal activity became more noticeable beginning in the 1970s once it was purchased by the Myers family. Multiple guests and residents reported seeing the transparent and ghostly apparitions of a young girl wearing a green turban moving throughout the property. In 1992, the owner took a famous photo that they believe captures Chloe's spirit. There is a photo, and I just want to point out that there is a photo on the website which points out what looks to be a person against the house, but it's hard to tell since it's a black and white photo. And I'm just showing Alex the photo.
Which website did you get this from?
Hauntedwalk.com. So they have an arrow pointing to the figure.
That does look like a person.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell, but yeah.
It could be a statue. It could be who knows what.
It could be just like dirt and the way the weather, like
something.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
The article goes on to say the photo was intended to be used to secure an insurance policy for the home in case of a fire or other natural disasters, not to prove paranormal activity. The presence of a human figure within the photo was undiscovered until it was developed. The owner reports that there was no one in the area at the time the photo was taken. One of the most disturbing paranormal reports occurs inside the home. In the grand hallway, there is an antique mirror just outside the dining room. The visitors report seeing Woodruff's children appear in the mirror near the room where they were poisoned. One researcher noted that each time the mirror is replaced or resilvered, the same handprint reappears as if they refuse to be ignored. So I'm just going to show Alex the photo of the handprints in the mirror. So if you go to hauntedwalk.com, we'll have the links. They have the photos, and you can look at it yourself.
What?
It looks just kind of dirty.
Yeah.
Despite the many ghost stories, there is some debate if Chloe ever existed or if that was her real name. Today, the residence is known as the Myrtles Plantation Bed and Breakfast, but it is also recognized as one of the most haunted houses in America, according to the National Geographic. They offer historical tours through the day and into the dark of night. So that's an interesting article, but while it is an interesting story, according to Wikipedia, the U.S. Federal Census confirms that the original family there owned 5 enslaved people in 1820 and 32 enslaved people in 1830. Historical documentation does not support the legend, and there are no known records of the Woodruffs owning a slave named Chloe or Chloe. The legend usually claims that Sarah and her 2 daughters were poisoned, but one of the daughters, Mary Octavia, survived well into her adulthood. And finally, Sarah, James, and Cornelia Woodruff, the 3 children, were not killed by poisoning, but eventually succumbed to yellow fever, which was something popular at the time.
Popular?
Oh, my God. Not popular, but...
Yellow fever was popular at the time. It was,
Oh,
the trend.
trend at the time.
Jeez.
Everyone was dying to get it. Oh, that was bad.
Wow.
Too soon?
Wow. No. Damn it. Yeah, that one.
Regardless of the factual inaccuracy of the story about Chloe, some believe a woman wearing a green turban does haunt the plantation. And I did find a historical website about the plantation, and they have a timeline on it that does state in 1823, Sarah Matilda passed away likely due to yellow fever, and the following year, 2 of her children, James and Cornelia, also succumbed to the same illness. So, could it be haunted? Just because there's no documentation of all the slaves and their names, it's tough because not everything was always properly documented back then.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And, I mean, the photo, we'll have the links. You can go look for yourself, see if it looks like a person. It's hard to tell. And then there's handprints on a mirror, but that can be faked.
Well, anything can be faked, so.
That's true.
Well, let's see about our next cursed object, Letta the Doll. This is a haunted doll that we were not too familiar with, but the lore claims that inside this wooden doll is a spirit who can move, cause items around it to move, and fall. Interesting. It can change its eye color and facial expression, agitate animals, and make people sick, or bring them good luck, depending on the doll's feelings towards the individual. What?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the 1970s, a young man named Kerry Walton and his brother were exploring an old abandoned house in their hometown of Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, Australia, when Kerry discovered what he at first thought was a small child's remains in the cellar of the home, but soon realized it was a child-sized wooden doll. That's creepy in and of itself.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little backstory to that I
Sure.
didn't write in there. The house that he and his brother went to was a house in the area where he grew up, that there were stories that there was an old man who lived in the house and people would see him carry a bag with like severed heads in it and weird stuff like that. So it's one of those old, creepy old guy living in a house by himself kind of stories, and people, I guess, tend to make up stories about the person. So that's why they were interested in checking out that abandoned house.
Huh. All right. Well, let's see what else they found, if anything else. All right. Kerry and his brother placed the doll in a bag and drove to Brisbane. The brothers claim while driving that night with the doll in the bag, they both thought the bag appeared to be moving, though they do admit it could have been an illusion or a trick of the light. Okay. Kerry's brother then joked the doll inside was attempting to escape, putting words in the doll's mouth. Letta me out. Letta me out. Kerry said the name Letta stuck. Letta appears to be a handcrafted wooden doll with large brown eyes and brown human hair. What?
Mm-hmm.
The carving of its face is quite detailed, as are the carvings of her hands, legs, and feet. Its original clothes disintegrated into dust around the time of her rediscovery, so she now wears a dark green suit with a white frilly shirt. Under her human hair is also a likeness of a human brain, though when we watched a video of it, we didn't really see the resemblance.
And it looked more like maybe a gray kind of felt material, but like you lift up almost like a scalp, like that the hair is sewn in on, and it's like you can see where it's like the wood part of it, and then like something a little softer. But it's hard to, I don't know, it doesn't really look like a brain.
Kerry, at one point, brought Letta to the Australian Museum in Sydney to have it properly dated. The nails on the undersides of its shoes helped the museum to determine it was at least 200 years old, making it a mid to late 18th century doll, and it's believed to have originated from an Eastern European community. Letta has a reputation for making those who see and visit her feel unease, and as well as causing the person to scream, pass out, and even vomit. It's also claimed by witnesses that Letta can change its facial expression, alter its eye color, move on its own, move items around it, cause items around it to have spontaneous destruction, like light bulbs blowing up, for instance, and rain to begin any time the doll is inside a moving vehicle. Though some say it's a good luck charm, and Kerry Walton and his family feel it helped improve their own fortune. Very interesting. There is some claim by some psychics that a doll maker created it in the likeness of his son, who drowned at the age of 6. Many people claim that Letta holds the spirit of a small child. One psychic who has spent much time with Letta says Letta isn't a bad doll, but a sad doll, claiming it is not angry, but upset. The psychic also claims Letta does not like being on display. The doll can be found on Kerry's social media pages, and merch is now sold for it as well, which is probably how their financial luck changed.
So maybe the doll did bring them good luck by them finding a way to make money off of it.
They monetized a cursed object.
People
Quote,
never
unquote,
do that.
Cursed object.
That never happens.
Very interesting. Yeah, just the pictures of it and watching that video of the scalp being, like, you could find videos of it on YouTube and stuff. Like, it's just weird that it was even made.
Well, remember,
crazy.
we've done, when we've talked about these cursed and haunted objects, we've talked about haunted dolls.
Right.
And older dolls that they're typically handmade. They're usually wooden or porcelain, and they do come off kind of creepy.
Yeah, and this one's face, it's just really creepy looking. And the fact that it's real human hair on it, and the fact that the scalp can be peeled back so you can look underneath it and see a brain. It's like, what?
But it doesn't really even look like a brain.
It's hard to tell in the video, but I think if it was a higher quality video, you could probably maybe see the detail a little bit better. But it's just weird that you can even do that. That it's designed for you to peel up the skull and look inside. It's weird. Anyway, moving on. What do we got next?
On to our next cursed or haunted object. We have the Anguished Man painting,
which is just really creepy looking.
Yeah. So the painting, known as the Anguished Man, certainly is creepy looking, resembling something that might be described as a burn victim that became a ghost while stuck in a moment of confusion and agony.
Yes.
Or at least that's how I describe it.
Yes.
The story goes that the painting was handed down to the current owner, Sean Robinson, from his grandmother. Sean lives in Cumbria, England, and was told by his grandmother that the artist who made the painting mixed his own blood into the paint and then died by suicide soon after finishing the painting.
What?
So that's an interesting start right there.
There's a nice little wrinkle.
Mm-hmm. He also claims that his grandmother was gifted this painting, and then she had kept it in her attic, basically the whole time she had it. What would you do, like, if somebody gifted you that painting, and they didn't tell you who made it?
I'd say, thanks.
And then it was made with, like,
if they told me it was made with the artist's blood, I'd be like, well, how quick can I sell this thing and get it out of my possession?
I'd be like, why would you think I would want this?
Yeah.
What kind of woman was his grandmother, I wonder?
That's a great question.
There was also a claim that the artist died by suicide soon after finishing the painting. Sean kept the painting in his basement for a decade because his wife didn't like it. Wonder why. But after a flood in the basement, they had to bring everything upstairs, and that's when he decided to hang it on the wall. And that's also when the disturbances apparently started to happen. Sean, the owner, claims that he's heard crying and moaning inside of his house near where the painting is located, and has seen a figure of a mysterious man roaming around ever since he brought that painting back up. The story also claims that the painting seems to choose its victims, making its way into the home only to have its effect on the homeowners and inside their house. So anyone who is near the painting doesn't have an effect from it, only the people who actually own it. And allegedly, the painting causes those people to have nosebleeds, nausea, blood clots, nightmares, and symptoms of depression. It's also alleged that inside the home, around where the painting is displayed, owners hear banging or scraping sounds, crying or wailing, disembodied footsteps, and that doors open and close on their own and a dark figure appears.
So you say owners. So has this...
I'm going to get there.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Sean Robinson, the owner, created a YouTube channel for the painting in June of 2010, where he told his story of the painting. But here's the thing. Just like with the Hands Resist Him painting, we have someone who is in possession of a painting and using social media to tell a story of its haunting or curse with no other proof than their word. So, and this is where I think everything contradicts itself, is because this painting, we don't know who the artist is. We don't know who gifted the painting from the grandmother. All I can find is the grandmother had it in her attic, said that, and where did he get the artist use the blood? Some stories say the grandmother said it. Others aren't quite clear. Did the grandmother have those things? The story's not very clear, along with the history of this painting. So the only history is the current owner's word of what he claims happens around this painting, right? The painting has its own Instagram account. That's first post was made in 2022. Of course, there's only 6 posts after that in 2022. It does have a Facebook account where it is listed as a fictional character.
Okay.
And its previously mentioned YouTube account was most recently updated 2 years ago. But in 2016, rights were acquired to make it into a movie, though I haven't found any movement on this. So if this doesn't scream manufactured, I don't know what does.
Well, I mean, just because, yeah, okay.
I look at it like this guy could have painted it himself.
Could have.
Or he could have found it. You don't know who the artist is. His grandmother could have had it, but, I mean, where does all this other stuff come from?
Yeah, so all this, when I said about how many owners has there been, because you said owners of the painting have said.
That's when you look up online, there are different articles.
Oh,
and
okay.
I try to look article to article and try to see what it has in common, things that stand out, things that are different from each other.
Okay, so there's only been, as far as we know,
one owner besides the grandmother
who's reported things.
And whoever gifted it allegedly gifted it to the grandmother.
After it was, shortly after it was painted.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Presuming.
So it seems like these stories have to be coming from the current owner.
So this is, okay, so this is just stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I would agree. It doesn't really seem like it holds a lot of water.
And it's on the surface.
Doesn't pass the smell test.
No, on the surface it's brilliant because it's a really creepy looking painting.
It is. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
It's definitely creepy looking.
So why not create this aura around it that it's haunted and causes all these issues to get people talking about it? They wanted to, La Brea Pictures they bought the rights so they can make a movie out of it. It doesn't look like it ever happened.
If you could get like somebody, like a Zach Bagans to pay you lots of money for it to put in his museum or whatever,
right?
Too. Yeah. Could end up being a very profitable painting.
It could be.
And all based on the story around it. Because looking at it, it's like, it's creepy, but it's not something I'd want to own, really.
No.
So I guess, yeah, maybe just the backstory is what provides it with all of its intrigue.
But where does that backstory come if there's no real information on
there's the
anything
information that this person has given you. That's the beauty of it. It's ambiguous enough that you can just fill in the blanks for yourself. Let your imagination do the thinking.
Well, that's essentially what's going on in this situation.
Yeah. Good for them. Let's talk about Anna Baker's wedding dress. For those not familiar with who Anna Baker was, she was the daughter of a wealthy ironmaster, Elias Baker, and his wife, Hetty. The Bakers also had 2 sons, David and Sylvester. Anna was born in 1849 and grew up in a 28-room, 3-story mansion in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Wow. On an eerie note, Anna's brother David tragically passed away in a steamboat accident a couple of weeks after the birth of his daughter. His remains were sent back to his childhood home for burial, but since the ground was frozen, his father, Elias, had to store his remains in the home's basement until the ground could thaw. When Anna was 18, she fell in love with one of the steel workers at one of her father's factories. The lovers kept their romance a secret since Anna was afraid her father would disapprove and prohibit the relationship. Over the course of 2 years, Anna's blue-collar love proposed to her. Together, they made plans to get married and leave the state to avoid her father. The story goes on to claim that Elias did eventually find out about their plans from another worker at the iron mill. He fired Anna's fiancé and threatened him with death if he ever showed his face in Altoona again, and of course forbid Anna from ever seeing him again. Anna spiraled into a depression and locked herself away for years inside her room, alone with her sadness and her wedding dress. She would at times refuse to eat or speak with anyone. Another version of this story claims Elias forced Anna to give her wedding dress to the daughter of another wealthy landowner, Elizabeth Bell, and that Bell ruthlessly mocked Anna after the wedding. Wow, that's
cold.
That's just wrong. When her father passed away in 1864, Anna found her chance to find her love and reunite with him, only to discover he had moved on and started a new family with a new love. Anna, again, found herself in a depression, locking herself away in her room again. It's said the only times anyone saw her was through her third-floor window. Maids claimed to have seen her dancing alone in her wedding dress when her family wasn't home. They also claimed to hear her crying at night. In 1907, the rest of the Baker family passed away, leaving Anna even more alone. Then, in 1914, Anna passed away, much like how she lived, alone. The Baker Mansion is believed to still house Anna Baker's lonely ghost, among others. The mansion was turned into a museum, and Anna's dress was encased in a glass display. Visitors claim they have seen the glass case move while they were in the room, as if someone is trying to get to the dress. Some claim they see the dress move and even float outside of its case. There is a strong belief Anna is trying to get to her dress so she can dance in it. Some claim they hear mocking coming from Anna's room, followed by sobbing. There are also claims Anna's brother David haunts the mansion as well. So, is the story true? According to factskology.com, not really. An article on the website goes on to say, Anna kept a diary and there are letters from Anna to her parents that show she had a happy relationship with them. In reality, between the 1850s and the 1880s, Anna traveled a lot, visiting other parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. For a while, she lived in New Jersey for school and later in Lancaster before moving back home to care for her sick mother. As far as Elizabeth Dysart goes...
Who was supposed to be Elizabeth Bell, I believe.
Okay, thank you. I was going to say, who's Elizabeth Dysart? As far as okay, let me just...
I think that's the woman's married name.
Fair enough. She was a real person, but definitely did not use or borrow Anna's wedding dress because when Elizabeth was married, Anna hadn't been born. By the time Anna was born, Elizabeth Dysart was already married and had 3 kids. Anna did go through a tragic heartbreak. As a child, Anna's best friend and schoolmate was a girl named Annie Porter. In letters from 1860 kept at the Penn State University Library, Annie details the death of her cousin William Lawrence from a prolonged, unspecified illness. It's revealed in the letters that Anna Baker and William were in love, and Anna was unable to make it in time to see William before his death. Based on the letters and diary entries, it doesn't appear that Anna Baker was involved with anyone else after William's death. Since this would have been considered odd for the time, This alone may have been what caused people to create their own rumors and reasons for Anna's choice to stay single for the rest of her life. As for the wedding dress, it doesn't appear to have belonged to Anna Baker, and like other items in the museum, it was simply an item of the time and on display there. Unfortunately, there are no pictures that are clear enough to read the plaque. It was also revealed that the reason the glass case moved on its own when people were in the room was due to loose floorboards. The glass case also wasn't airtight, allowing the wind to make it appear as if the dress was moving on its own. In the early 2000s, the dress was removed from the display after 30 years due to deterioration from direct sunlight and air. There is also a rumor that the Altoona mayor from decades ago helped pass around the fake ghost stories in order to bring in more tourist dollars. This claim appeared on several websites and books that tell the legend of the haunted Baker Mansion, so it felt important to point out that we could not find any proof of this claim anywhere. It's also important to note that the website for the Blair County Historical Society makes no claims that the mansion is haunted, nor do they have any information on the wedding dress. Although using the Wayback Machine, their website did entertain the idea of ghosts in relation to the Baker Mansion until around 2011. While it appears that the legends of surrounding Anna Baker's haunted wedding dress can be debunked based on her own letters and diary entries, there was hardly any information on the other supposed hauntings. Many of the stories are told secondhand from someone who heard them from someone who knew someone who used to work at the Baker Mansion. The same stories are passed around various websites, books, and magazines, slightly altered but with no sources. The Baker Mansion even appeared in the November 1981 issue of Life magazine in a list of the most haunted places in America. Since there is really no way to verify or disprove those claims, for now they are just hearsay. There are also a few workers who have worked at the museum who claim to never have experienced any paranormal activity. The Blair County Historical Society is still providing tours of the Baker Mansion, so if you're in the area and curious, why not take a tour? If you dare.
So that article did all the debunking for me. I didn't have to.
I was gonna say
dig too far.
I should have stopped before they got debunked, and we should have talked about it before we debunked it with all the information.
One of the issues that I tend to find with these stories is you can't get a lot of facts. You can't get information. Who was her lover? The guy's never named. Maybe because he didn't exist. That's usually the first red flag.
Again, these stories, they're just that, they're stories. And it's like the more time passes on and the more people have access to sources and historical sources that have been digitized now, and you can actually look for information. A lot of these stories that for generations were told and believed by people, they're more easily debunked now.
I know. And the other thing is that story of the bride who lost her lover and, cries is alone in her room and has her wedding dress isn't just isolated to Anna Baker. It's something that you hear. I mean, even I think around here, there's like a hotel or something that used to be a house that housed a woman and her husband died or her fiance died. And it's a pretty common story.
The stuff of urban legend just carries on and on.
Pretty much.
What do we got next?
All right. So for our last object, I wanted to talk about the Hope Diamond.
Nice.
I didn't even know it was allegedly cursed.
Really? You never heard of the Curse of the Hope Diamond? That's one that, oh man, that's been like...
I've heard of the Hope Diamond. All
kinds of different TV shows and all kinds of stuff.
Well, some legends claim that the Hope Diamond is supposed to carry a curse. The stone is said to have been stolen from the statue of a Hindu god who placed a curse on it. Over the years, several from the long list of owners have died in somewhat dubious circumstances, or the owner suffered an accident after buying the diamond. So let's go back on a little history of the Hope Diamond.
Let's.
And this information is from the Smithsonian.
Ooh, yeah,
Who
that's where it's
currently
housed
house-
right now,
yes.
right? Yeah.
And that's where the diamond is on display and was purchased as a 100. And so originally, it was purchased as a 112. Let me back up and get this right. 112 3/16 carat diamond. And it was originally purchased by John Baptiste Tavernier in the 1600s, and it was described as having a beautiful violet color. That is a big ass diamond.
That's big.
It's believed the diamond was most likely from the Kollur mine in Golconda, India. It was somewhat triangular in shape and crudely cut, but Tavernier sold the diamond to King Louis XIV of France in 1668, who had the diamond recut and brought it down to 67 1/8 carat. That's still really big.
That's, yeah.
But basically about half the size. The stone was described as an intense steely blue, which became known as French blue. It seems over the years the diamond was passed down from King Louis the 15th, where it was stolen in September of 1972. The diamond made its way to a diamond merchant in London, Daniel Elizon, who allegedly recut the diamond before it was acquired by King George IV of the United Kingdom. After King George's death in 1830, the diamond was used to pay off the enormous debts of the late king, and it was believed that the diamond was sold through private channels. The diamond found its way to different owners, often being used as a way to pay off debt before finding a new home. In 1910, it made it to Mrs. Evelyn Walsh McLean of Washington, D.C. at Cartier's in Paris, but she did not like the setting. Cartier had the diamond reset and took it to the U.S., where it was left with Mrs. McLean for a weekend. And her strategy was successful to acquire it, so the sale was made in 1911 with the diamond mounted as a headpiece on a three-tiered circlet of large white diamonds. Sometime later, it became the pendant on a diamond necklace we know it today. Mrs. McLean's flamboyant ownership of the stone lasted until her death in 1947. After McLean's passing, it was bought by Harry Winston, where it was on display for over 10 years before being donated to the Smithsonian. And when the Smithsonian removed the diamond from its settings, they weighed it in at 45.52 carats.
How many pounds is that?
I don't know, but that's still big. You think about it, a 1 carat diamond is big. So how is this diamond cursed? Well, remember its first owner? It's believed that John Baptiste Tavernier wrote extensively about the gem before his death in Moscow the following year, when he was reportedly dismembered by a pack of wild dogs. Ouch.
Yeah.
The second owner, King Louis XIV, lost 5 of his legitimate children during infancy, and the king died in agony of gangrene in 1715. Its third owner, King Louis the 15th, set the stage for the French Revolution and died as a hated man. Following his death, King Louis the 16th and his famous wife Marie Antoinette, who often wore the stone in public, were both beheaded publicly. That London diamond merchant that allegedly cut down the stone, well, he died of suicide after being accused of obtaining a stolen diamond and cutting it down. And when King George IV acquired the diamond in 1820, following his death in 1830, his bankrupt estate sold the stone to pay off debts. Attention then shifted to the London banking heir, Henry Philip Hope, who some suspected had secretly bought the diamond from French thieves in the early 1800s. Hope publicly listed the stone in his 1839 gem catalog, only to die just months later. The blue diamond remained with the Hope family for the next 57 years. And I just want to point out that's where it became the Hope Diamond.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, the last owner being the American actress, playwright, and concert hall singer May Yohei, Mary Augusta Yohei, also Lady Frances Hope, whose writings and stage productions often called attention to the stone's purported curse. The diamond was sold in 1896 to settle Yohei's pressing debts. Many believe that the celebrated singer herself fell victim to the stone's evil power. After enduring 2 disastrous marriages, she died in poverty in 1938. Not even Miss Evelyn McLean was safe from the Hope Diamond curse. Her husband died in a mental hospital. Her firstborn son was fatally struck by an automobile at age 9, and her 24-year-old daughter died of an overdose of sleeping pills. When Harry Winston decided to give the diamond to the Smithsonian, he sent it from New York City to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. by registered, insured, first-class mail. Shortly after hand-delivering the stone, United States Post Office letter carrier James Todd was seriously injured in 2 back-to-back automobile accidents before losing his house to a fire. While nothing has happened while on display at the Smithsonian, some think it's just a matter of time before the diamond finds a new owner and a new victim.
Well, I also, in passing, have heard that another victim of the curse of the Hope Diamond was the creator of the Twilight Zone, Rod Serling.
Really?
Because one of his final things that he did before he died was narrate a story that the Hope Diamond was a part of. So people so some people that want to, and keep the curse of the Hope Diamond alive have attributed his death to working on a project that was about the Hope Diamond before he passed.
And it's interesting because it sounds like something not great happened to every single owner.
Yeah, yeah.
But you also have to look at the circumstances. So the original guy who got the diamond, he was mauled by a pack of wild dogs. Well, and was he, I guess, in Moscow at the time? Well, what was he doing? Did he put himself in that situation? Or was it really kind of random where nobody could explain it? And people, a lot of these kings and these rich people using the diamond to pay off debt. Well, maybe things like buying diamonds put them in debt in the first place.
Yeah, right.
So who really knows? And you would look at the time when people were dying of illnesses. Is it really the Hope Diamond's fault, or were they just fooling around and finding out in life? I don't know.
It's the Hope Diamond's fault because
it's easier to blame it on inanimate objects.
It's funner to think about.
Possibly. But it is interesting, just about every person.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun too. Kind of fun, I suppose, because it happened so long ago that we're so far removed from these people. But just to see the lineage and to be able to trace the lineage of an object like that because of what it is and how prestigious it is and how it's just so one of a kind, it's kind of cool to see that you can trace ownership of it. You can see exactly where it went the entire time that it's been in existence.
Because it's such a unique stone.
Right. And now where it's housed in the Smithsonian, I mean, we could do a show on just the stuff that's in the Smithsonian for crying out loud, because there's so much stuff in there. But yeah, it's just very interesting. Is it cursed? I don't know. Come on. And if it was, why hasn't anything happened? Well, actually, I'm sorry. Some people have actually blamed the decline of the way the United States has gone over the last however many decades on the Hope Diamond, and the fact that yes, that is something that I saw also when I was reading up on it, that a lot of people attribute the downfall of the United States to the fact that we now, as a country, are owning it and putting it on display in the Smithsonian Institute. That's just another thing that has been attributed to the Hope Diamond, is the decline of Western civilization, if you will.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's got some mythology behind it, that's for sure.
Not only is it big and beautiful, it's a wonderful scapegoat.
Oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, out of all the ones today that we talked about, I think the only one that is even remotely, to me, has a possibility of being something is the Letta doll. The Letta
Maybe.
doll to me is the only one that I think has a credible enough, just because of the dating of it and it being so old,
Mm.
that maybe you could see something happening from it. But
I was going to say
I
maybe
don't
the
know.
Hope Diamond has the most
But
weight behind it.
the Hope Diamond has a lot too, but just it to me it's like, well, it's just a diamond. It's like, how can that be? I don't know. The doll itself though, just the whole, like, the idea that maybe the maker of the doll somehow got his son's soul into the, but that's the other thing too, like, from back then, how, if people could do that kind of stuff back then, how come that can't be done today?
I mean, I'm sure
That's
things
the other
could
thing.
be done, but why would you want to trap
Well,
soul
that too.
in
That's
an
the other
inanimate
part of it.
object knowing that you're going to die eventually? That doesn't
Yeah.
really make much sense.
Yeah, so it's just kind of strange.
I think maybe somebody could have made a doll to resemble their child.
And
I mean, people did that. Wealthy people did that all the time. They gave it to the kid to play with.
Yeah, but it was the thing that's weird about this one is that it was life size. Was that a common practice back then?
Yeah.
Oh,
They were
okay,
usually 3 to 4
okay.
feet tall.
Okay.
When they did dolls back then. However, I feel like this doll, there are claims it's more of a marionette type doll, which makes sense how exaggerated the face looks with the eyebrows and the smile and everything.
Yeah, it's creepy.
But
looking.
to me, it looks like, I don't know, like an older woman type.
It doesn't look like a small boy.
It doesn't look like a boy.
But
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think that they claim it's a Eastern European style doll. And I did read that they said, oh, well, this is, they believed it to be like, a doll like gypsies would make for their kids, things like that.
okay.
But I don't know. I think that it's just they found a doll in the cellar of an old abandoned house. The house is old. The doll's even older. And maybe you just chalk up anything weird to the doll because the doll looks kind of creepy and it has a creepy background.
It does definitely have a creepy background and it looks creepy. That's why I'm saying, out of all of them, to me, that's the creepiest one. But yeah, you're right. The Hope Diamond definitely has the best history. And could be maybe considered just because of all the different things associated with the deaths of all the owners. And again, I mean, with something like that, would they say that the thing was cursed if, say, one of the owners just died of natural causes? Would that dispel the history of it before?
Possibly.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what are the odds of something? But again, with the people, you have to look at just the different owners of it, and they were all prominent, wealthy people. What do prominent, wealthy people typically die of? I don't know. Like all kinds of different stuff, right? So is it coincidence, or is there some bad juju associated with this thing?
And I just want to say, I think Letta the Doll looks pretty cool. I don't find it very creepy.
I don't think it looks cool. I'm kind of
think it
creeped
looks
out
kinda
by
cool.
the thing. But all right, agree to disagree.
Okay.
All right, well, that's it for this week. Until next time, I am the Golden Greek, Alex Arion. I've been joined, as always, by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous wife, Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.
We love hearing from and interacting with our hearers and watchers. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter.
At Homewrecker Pod.
You can also visit our website,
homewreckerpodcast.com.
where you can check out past episodes and pick up some Homewrecker podcast gear from our online store.
Also, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're hearing or watching our show. That way you can be notified whenever a new episode drops. We're on all major podcasting platforms, and you can check out the video versions of our show at YouTube and Brighteon.
You can also find Monique in a few places online as well.
I'm on Twitter @_Monique Giselle_. If you're interested in a tarot reading, organite, incense, candles, and other cool things, you can go to my website, tarotbymonique.com. Or if you're interested in hypnotherapy, you can go to innerstandingshypnosis.com to schedule a free 20-minute consult. And follow me on Twitter at MoniquePCHT. And Alex, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @TheAlexArion, and you can check out my website, alexarionfitness.com.
And if that's too much to remember, we get it. That's why we put it all in our show notes.
Thanks for spending your time with us, and we appreciate all of your support.
We do. Thank you. We love you. Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Inner Standings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.